So I want to talk to you a little bit about how to organize and break down a large, complicated scene with a lot of pieces in it. So I've actually been working on this large environment piece, and I want to show you some of the stuff that I do to make it work. So let me load up my little canvas here. Let's take you on a little tour of it. Now, for me, everything in a scene like this starts with a concept. So in this, for instance, I'm going off of this concept for building. Much more complicated than what you're going to be doing in this class. I want you to stick to something fairly blocky and straightforward. We're going to build up towards stuff like this. But it always starts from this single image. And I know this single image is sort of my master concept or key concept, and everything's going to be based on it. From there, I start to collect up references of things like I like to find paintings to get ideas for lighting. I get examples of trees that I like or I might want in a stream. I like to pull down images of 3D or digital art from games that are sort of like, this is the style I'm going for, what I want it to look like. Concepts of elements or things that are going to go to the scene, real life environments. I add up any details that I can find. I'm using here a program called PureRef. And the reason it's so nice is it just sits on top of wherever your screen is. It's really easy to resize and move around. And I could just middle drag to go in there. In fact, let me get my little notation on so you see all the little details. So it's really nice to be able to move and rotate and like be able to see all these images and just really zoom in on any of them. So as I'm modeling, I always have something to look at. PureRef is free. It is sort of donation software. You can get it from puref.com, and I really recommend that you all do this because it's going to be part of organizing your reference images. You can put up multiple windows and stuff like that, but I almost always see everybody working this way. Even if you have multiple monitors, which I do, I prefer to keep all my concept here because it's a lot easier to control. So let's take a look at how I've kind of started with this scene. So I have all these different folders. These are called collections. And the way a collection works inside of the program is if I have, say, a series of objects, so I'm going to just say cube and take this here and here. So these objects are in the scene collection, which is the higher order of all of them. And if I select both of these objects and I hit M on the keyboard, it takes me to create a new collection here. See, I hit the wrong one, M. Remove from local view. Well, let's get that out of there and see. There we go. I was in a view mode that it was trying to get me out. So I can either add it to existing collections or I could create a new one. I could say demo. And now I have it in a separate collection, which is great because I can easily turn it on or off. I can even give these collections colors, which makes them sometimes easier to see at a glance if you want to come up with a convention for different colors. But this way I can start with something like my blockout, which usually start with big shapes, and I slowly refine them down, adding more details. From there, I took this project and I started breaking them down into pieces that would repeat over the model and started detailing those, and pieces that were unique, that didn't repeat on the model. So all of these assets that are only ever used once on the model. And then try to break those down even into smaller pieces, like this whole entrance I turned into, if I go to Object, Random Color View, I turned into multiple assets that I felt could be reused, so I can only work on them one at a time. That's why we talk about thinking modularly, because breaking these things down is going to be really essential to making the project manageable. So the last of this is when you can organize it. It lets you hide and show only certain elements at the time. I also use what's called local view quite a lot. If you go to View, I can always go back to Frame All, which is the home hotkey, which brings me back to my main view. But I can also select this and go to up to View and Frame Selected, which I've set to the hotkey. By default, it's on the backslash on your keypad. I've just set it to the regular backslash. And that lets me zoom in on this object. But then there's also, under View, what's called Local View. And I've set this to the / space, which is also numpad / And what this does is it sort of temporarily hides everything else. And so it's really nice for me to be able to just focus on one piece and modeling it one part at a time and ignore everything else. So I use these tools a lot. I use collections, I use these local spaces, and I also use hiding and showing using these little eyes. So H hides, Alt H brings back, and Shift H hides everything that I didn't bring. So sometimes I'll be working, let's say Alt H, sort of bring all that back. Looks like I hid everything. Go back to home. So what I'll often do with this is I might be working on, say, all in this whole scene, I'll be working on maybe a set of assets. So I'll select the assets that I want to work on right now. I'll Shift H to isolate just them as a group. And then I'll toggle local view on and off as I'm working on individual parts. So I can kind of take them in chunks, but still be able to see the whole thing. So you see with a project like this, you can really get lots and lots and lots of stuff in one big file and still be able to work with it on a larger scale. There's a lot of ways of sorting and organizing and taking a big complicated scene and breaking it into individual chunks. Speaking of which, the last tool I want to show you here that you should be checking out is Trello. Now you maybe have used this for classes before, but I almost always see people use Trello kind of wrong for CG art. I don't like a ton of checklists because the whole point of Trello is to be able to visualize how we're moving things across. So what I do is I make up a big to-do list on the left, and then I create the phases or stages an asset has to go through until it's completed and done. So for instance, this stone texture here maybe needs to start in a block-in stage. And then I know wherever everything that's my block-in here has been completed, it's in or done with block-in. And as soon as I've done blocking my crate, I'm ready to work on it in high poly. So each day when I come out, I know I'm just trying to take one card and move it further and further down this list. Trello is really useful for this kind of thing. It's really nice to set up, and it's again free. It's really good because it's helping you think about taking your big complicated things and break it down to small pieces. So we'll want to see you do that for this assignment. I'll see you in the next one.